My name is Steve Megatron, and I am the geekiest man alive. To the outside world, I'm an ordinary rental manager, but secretly, with the help of my friends at GCRN Studios, I review media and find other altered geeks like me. I hunted the information on my past, but in doing so, I opened up a whole new world of possibilities. And I am the only one geeky enough to unleash them. I am the Altered Geek.
You're tuned in to Steve Megatron on Altered Geek Unlimited.
Hello and welcome to Altered Geek Unlimited. I'm your host, Steve Megatron Phillips, and joining me this week is...
Michael Boothninja Powers, and I promise not to slander, or is that libel?
I'm not quite sure.
Listeners. One of those. I promise not to.
I would think it'd be the latter, maybe.
One of them's print, and one of them is... wow.
I think liable is the
probably should have looked up what one meant.
I think slander is vocal.
Okay. Well, either way,
it's spoken.
I promise not to directly offend a listener. I may indirectly offend a few listeners, but no one listener. If that's fair enough. But I'm here.
Yes, he is here.
So
yes, quite a few interesting twists have happened this week as far as geekdom.
Just a few.
And superheroes.
Just a couple little tiny things.
Yeah. Maybe we should start with the smaller one first of the new Commissioner Gordon.
Yeah.
So he doesn't get lost in the rest of it.
Yeah, in the kerfuffle here. I think, for anyone that doesn't know, Commissioner Gordon has been cast for the new, what are they calling it? The DC Extended Universe?
Yeah, which is kind of entertaining to me.
Okay.
Or Cinematic Universe.
I thought the official Warner Brothers name for it was the DCEU.
Which it might be. I'm not quite sure.
That's how they're...
Maybe the Cinematic Universe. Maybe that's the animated films.
Yeah. So, but either way, they have cast everyone's favorite actor, J.K. Simmons, better known for his role as J. Jonah Jameson.
Which I think is kind of sad he won't be back as that character. But
yeah, I will admit I was one of those few people that had that small little smidge of hope that he might be able to reprise the role for Marvel's Spider-Man. But at the same time, I feel like this particular thing ties into an expectation, like something that we're going to talk about later in the episode, where, you know,
would that be almost like akin to your keeping Christian Bale?
Yeah. Or kind of like the conversation we had about the kind of like the meat of the show that I wanted to bring up, which was like fan expectations versus what actually happened. So like J.K. Simmons reprising the role of J. Jonah Jameson was like was an expectation I had, but I felt it was an unreal expectation. And now we know it's not gonna happen. So yes, but he is Commissioner Gordon. And to be honest with you, the only problem I have with this is it flies in the face of everything that I've thought I've snooped out about the DCEU, which was, you know, the whole lived-in world aesthetic.
Yeah, they kind of put the kibosh on that for you.
Well, I thought... I was trying to find it, too. I couldn't really find any articles about this. I found articles, but I couldn't find the article that pointed to the evidence of this, but about this world that DC is building, Commissioner Gordon is already dead. So I was operating on the assumption of that, and tied into that is the idea of the Lex Luthor that everyone knows and loves is also dead.
And that this was Junior.
Yeah. So, but this kind of flies in the face of, now this doesn't fly in the face of my Lex Luthor theory, but it flies in the face of my Jim Gordon theory, But at the same time, I'm choosing to keep my theory alive in the fact that we still don't know the context of this.
Like maybe he was around before this movie, but during maybe the Suicide Squad, and that's
There's that, or maybe because the Justice League stuff, we don't know what that's going to entail. Like, are there going to be flashbacks in that series? Could this just be like a flashback type role? And not to mention that, um, there's been rumor that the solo the Ben Affleck Batman movies would be prequels.
hmm.
Um, so it's like one of those things like, well, how is he going to be used? We don't know. So if you just cast a guy to show up and be like, to have those one-off conversations that Gordon and Batman tend to have from time to time, like for the inspirational part of stuff, um, like it could just be that. Because one of the things I've also seen or heard is that the way the Flash shows up in Batman versus Superman is through like a vision.
So like that scene where you see Batman in the trench coat type thing.
Yeah, but like I guess there's like again, I haven't dived any deeper into this than like headline stuff, but it's kind of like they're the Batman versus Superman. It sounds like there might be some moments where they're diving into like the inner thoughts of these characters and basically looking at their, this sounds kind of hokey, but looking at their dreams, if you will, and that's how the Flash like appears
Mm-hmm.
in Batman vs Superman. Again, completely out of context, sounds insane. Um, but so yeah, I'm just choosing to keep the hope alive that Commissioner Gordon at the time of Batman versus Superman is dead. But casting the role is a major step in being able to use that character because there's a lot of ways that you can use a character. Um, whether because I mean they cast Thomas Wayne and Thomas Wayne is most definitely dead.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's lots of ways that you can use a character. But so do you have any thoughts on this? Like because I know you had the same thought that I did. Have you reversed? Do you think he's alive? Or are you still trying to keep the he's dead, Jim? But or are you just going with nope, he's alive now? Like,
I'm kind of torn because I could have swore I read the same article as you, like maybe we reported it even on this podcast, that Jim Gordon was going to be dead
yeah, I
for.
thought it was like a set photo of the Gotham precinct, and there was a plaque that said like in
Uh,
honor of Commissioner Gordon or something like that, or Jim Gordon, or I don't know, but that's what in my mind's eye, that's what I remember seeing. Um,
yeah, I could have swore I saw something like that um, pop up at some point. But yeah, because it says it was. Yeah, I'm reading. There's an article on Cinema Blend. It says originally the word by the time Batman v Superman um, started, uh, and this was an article from a year ago. Um, was that Robin died at the hands of the Joker, um, and then they switched out Robin for Gordon. And it says Commissioner Gordon was killed.
hmm.
Um, and then 3 days ago, they have an update because obviously the J.K. Simmons information. Um, uh, but it says that it's, they're saying it's debunked, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. It could be just a partial role,
Yeah, exactly. So
And I'm kind of, I don't know, I'm kind of torn. Like, I want to think that he's dead, but maybe at the same time, maybe it was like a fake out, or maybe, they were just giving misdirection,
yeah, it could have
or.
been anything. So no, I think it's great. I mean, I want to see what he does because I mean, I feel like Jim Gordon's one of those roles. I don't. This just could be the way that I feel about DC in general. Um,
He's like one of those Uncle Ben, like moral compass type things, like Alfred for Batman.
See, I see Alfred as more of just being that in the Batman universe. Like Gordon to me, just because he's not.
He's like another surrogate father almost to Batman, like to Batman himself, not Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, I
Whereas
guess. I just don't. I don't
Alfred's
see him as iconic as like J. Jonah Jameson.
no,
That's what I mean. I don't see him as like he like J. Jonah Jameson had that role has ramifications across like the greater Marvel universe.
well because he hates on Spider-Man so hard.
Right.
Whereas Jim Gordon is kind of he's a cop that sides with Batman and then talks to him, has his little fire side chats, and
And
then they kind of go on their way.
and J. Jonah Jameson is also in the news biz, so he like, throws in with everything versus Gordon's just responsible for Gotham City. But so I realized the error in my speech there, but I don't know.
Now we just got to figure out who that Jenna Malone is playing.
Yeah, and she is what makes the movie rated R apparently.
Because they're saying that she's going to be in the ultimate rated R cut for home release. And they were pointing at her possibly playing Carrie Kelly from The Dark Knight Returns or Barbara Gordon. And then Zack Snyder stated she's neither Robin nor Batgirl, seemingly striking those two off the list.
It's one of those. But now we're in that era where we just went through Blofeld, we just went through Khan, like.
Yeah, misdirection is totally
Like I want to buy it like at face value because I can't think that Snyder's ever done that before, but at the same time it's like I'm not buying it, man. uh and also the rated R cut doesn't seem like it's rated R because it's like the way I read there was another article on Slash Film about this. It basically seems to me like they wanted to do an extended cut of the movie, kind of like with Lord of the Rings and stuff like that, mainly because nobody wants to sit in a movie theater for like 3 hours or whatever. And for whatever reason, instead of just putting it out as unrated like most studios would, they went ahead and got it rated. And it's R just for intensity for the most part. So I don't think it's going to be anything like crazy. So I actually, after reading what I read,
they're making it seem like it could be a Killing Joke type scene, like flashback, and that's why.
Could be. So, real quick aside though, since we're talking about DC stuff, real quick, I actually this past weekend I read the Flashpoint saga, in comic book form.
Oh, okay.
I hate DC Comics with a passion. I really do. Their films and their animated stuff is amazing. I can't stand the comics. There is something about the way they are written.
I will say this. I enjoy their films for the most part, give or take. I greatly enjoy their television shows. And I greatly enjoy their animated stuff. Their animated stuff is by far their like number one claim to fame, and then their TVs too. But I was an avid fan of DC Comics themselves, and then prior to the reboot of prior to the New 52 reboot, it started getting kind of convoluted there,
Mm-hmm.
and like they were running out of steam, and then they were like, oh, New 52. And then they ran out of steam 3 years later, and then we get new Old 52. And I have no idea that there's so much messed up in this universe that I had to stop getting the comics. Like it was not conducive to me to. I couldn't follow it in any capacity.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea what the hell was going on at any given point.
I mean, I liked what I read. I like some of Flashpoint, and I didn't just read I think it was like a 5 or 6 part Flashpoint comic. I read the entire thing, like all the individual comics for like the Flashpoint saga. And just no one thing held up no one story inside of the Flashpoint saga like held up. I mean, yeah, there were some cool moments, but man, I just there's just something about the way they're written. I feel like there's just like panels end up missing at some point, or just like the artist isn't uh, drawing what the writer is trying to do, or the writer is not doing what the artist wants. There, it always just seems to drop the ball somewhere, and then it makes it seem like it's just kind of like cut and paste. We're just putting these pieces together because we have to end up somewhere. Where the Marvel stuff, I feel like they'll take a whole issue to do like one thing rather than like cover multiple beats in one issue. They'll dive into like one thing, and that'll be it for the issue. But it translates so much better over like a series of comics compared to anything that DC has done. And this even extends to like the Jeff Loeb stuff for like, what was it, the Long Halloween?
Mm-hmm.
And what were the other big ones that he did?
Did he do Nightfall?
No, I don't think. Well, maybe, but the ones that everyone like loves, because the ones that were drawn by like Jim Lee and Jeff Loeb, or written,
Okay, those were after
drawn by
Nightfall.
Jim Lee, written by Jeff Loeb, I think.
Yeah, Nightfall was 80s, so that was probably the Long Halloween, and then there was probably what's that one where the city's locked down?
No Man's Land.
That maybe?
I don't think.
Did they
No,
do that?
I haven't read No Man's Land. There's like, anyways, there's like, I think there's like three of them that everyone just like, that's the Batman you need to read, and I read them, and I just can't do it, man. I don't know what it is. I understand that people love them, and on some level they're great, but I have a lot of things like that in my life that, I understand that people love Zelda games. I just can't get into them. Like,
Yeah,
so
I'm
it's
same way.
I think that's just it for me with comic. Like DC is that for me with comics. Like, yeah,
Now,
they might.
but you enjoy Marvel comics,
Yes,
though.
exactly.
So, but you're more. Would you say you're more of a Marvel fan than a DC fan in general?
I mean, I want to say yeah, but the thing is like, probably because, like I said, I can read Marvel comics and I can enjoy Marvel like movies and TV shows. But when it comes to DC stuff, I really can only enjoy their video format stuff. So like,
Okay.
given that like half, I can watch I can watch or read all of Marvel stuff. I can only watch DC stuff. But so that's the Flashpoint Paradox movie is again, I've said this last time I was on, is excellent. And like the 5-part Flash story was excellent, and I do enjoy the changes that they made from the comic to the movie. It makes it flow a lot better. But again, doing a movie based off of a comic is kind of like getting a second shot at telling the story.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, I just wanted to do that because we're on DC. So I guess the other bit of small news, um, just real quick before the big one, which is the Tomb Raider.
Yeah, the Daisy Ridley getting. There's the rumor that she's on the short list for to play Laura Croft, based on the new iteration.
Now, see that what's interesting about that to me is that Laura Croft in. Yeah, well, I don't have a problem with that casting like at all, even if it is true or not. We have no idea, because at this point it's just a rumor. But the girl that voices her in the games is Camilla Luddington.
Who's played a live action version of her, like as on promo, I believe.
Well, see, I know her from doing the voice work in the game, and then I know her from True Blood, Californication, and Grey's Anatomy. So like, part of me is like, wait a minute, okay, so obviously you're just going after Daisy Ridley because she's the it thing right now, but you got the girl that does the voice of her in the game. Clearly, she could probably do the role for you in the movie as well. I mean,
But she does do live action.
so I just, it's like, if the game character is based off of this actress, why wouldn't you, and the same actress can play her? why wouldn't you get the same actress? It's a money thing, you know. It's like this, and it's because she's the you know, nothing against her. I like Ray just fine, but it's like they want her because it's like a fantasy casting.
She's,
It's like
yeah,
they want her because she's known from being in Star Wars and everyone liked her in Star Wars, so let's put her in this property and hope it does well as well. So, I mean, it's just a bummer, but whatever.
yeah. It's just how it goes, I guess. I mean, I don't have a problem either way,
No, I
but
I mean I
I just think that they're gonna burn people out on her.
yeah, I mean I do want to see a new Tomb Raider. I mean, I do like Tomb Raider, and for anyone that cares, because I've talked about it before, my Hollywood Stock Exchange stock for Tomb Raider went up like $13 today based off of that news.
Nice. And if she actually gets cast, it'll probably skyrocket.
Yep, this is a true story. So
Um, so yeah, kind of getting into the meat and potatoes here of the superhero exchange here. We have the Captain America Civil War
the final trailer.
trailer. Yeah, final one. But it debuted something that some people are either saying should have waited until the film, or some people are just either loving or hating on the character in general, since it's been shown, and that would be Spider-Man.
I feel like if this was any other film franchise, people would be going crazy over the fact that they spoiled something that major from the movie.
You mean like something that happened in the DC Batman vs Superman one?
Yeah, or just like anything. Like you know what I'm saying? Like you hear about this a lot in movies where like they'll show you like the big reason to go see a movie. And people will say like, "Well, I don't need to see it now. I just saw it in the trailer." Like I feel like that was this movie's like it was this movie's cherry. And you gave it away for free.
Yep. They showed off the costume. They showed off the gimmick. They showed off. I guess first opinion I think we should go to is the overall suit appearance, just based off the image you've seen.
Yeah, and now this is where I come across as a hypocrite because I know I've been on here before saying we shouldn't. I don't judge things based off of this, that, or the other thing. I base it off of the final product, and I'm still in that boat. Um, because I'm one of the few people that didn't really have a problem with the Green Lantern suit in the movie, but I had a problem with it the way it was shown in the trailers.
Mm-hmm.
So ever since then, I've been kind of on the boat of what I'm gonna judge the final product. I don't really want to judge anything in here, but when I see this Spider-Man suit, the only thing I can see is the Spider-Man from that 1970s movie.
Or yeah, the Japanese Spider-Man movie,
Yeah, and I'm not.
or Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends.
It's not what I was. Hmm, how to be nice about this? How to be nice about this?
It almost looks too colorful and too washed out in the detail.
It looks like a basketball. The head looks like a basketball.
With Spider-Man eyes.
Yeah.
I and I've seen close-up shots of this. You know that kind of hexagon grainy thing that they do to all the superhero costumes now at this
Mhm.
point. It's in there, but it's not as evident as like the previous Amazing Spider-Man costume and the Tobey Maguire version, which I didn't realize had that as well. Um, the because I've looked at all three suits now, like side by side, and I actually find myself enjoying the Tobey Maguire suit more to some degree. I would like this one, but I think that because of the lighting, the trailer, or the CG that's used, um, he's too orange. Like the colors just seem too bright and too washed out, and then the black spiderweb details just seem lost in that red orange color.
Yeah, I can't. I really want to.
I mean, I want to like it, but it's just. I mean, and again, it's a trailer, so it may not be the final. You know, I mean, it probably
All right,
is, but
here's
still.
I think this is my real problem with it. I don't like the eyes.
And I saw that in the trailer where they go squinty and stuff, and I've seen close-up shots of that in an HD format where you can see some of the web idea on the head. Um, there's one, two, three different positions for the way the eyes move
I see that.
in this shot because I got one pulled up from like Bill Forrester, and I find myself liking some of like how it moves in general, but I don't like how. I hope it's not mechanical. I hope it's just a gimmick of the suit.
See, there was an article on Slash Film that it's a piece of tech that it's going to be explained in the movie. It's a piece of tech that allows the eyes to move, and that bugs the crap out of me.
I almost wish it was like the Deadpool method.
Well, okay, I think Deadpool worked, and I know we had this conversation off air, and I didn't want to paint you in a corner because I'm the one that brought it up, and I do agree with that. I agree with what I said off air, which is that yes, they should have. I wish they would have gone with a Deadpool method, and that it would have been more just comic-y, like they would have just done it with a computer to get the emote across. But that's not what they're going for here. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's got to because Deadpool had this more like tongue-in-cheek vibe to it. So, you know, they can show his eyes moving like that because that's just what he does. But I think that for them to do that in the Marvel movie, or in the Marvel universe, I think they had to have a reason for him to do that. But I don't understand why that would need to be a thing. I don't what makes that a thing? Even if it's not mechanical, what makes that what I don't understand what makes that a thing. Yes, that works in the comics, but what purpose would that serve in an actual like an actual costume? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that serves no purpose whatsoever. I don't see the purpose of that. But, you know, again, in a way to kind of just straddle the fence of hypocrisy, I will wait. I'm trying not to go too full on judgmental. Like I want to see I haven't heard the Spider-Man. I haven't seen the Spider-Man move. All I've seen is a picture. And so, you know, a picture's not going to tell me a whole lot. I mean, I've seen GIFs, however you want to say them, like of the eyes dilating and everything, and the whole like Muppets, everyone getting all happy about it and everything. But I guess I just don't see how that works, and that needs to be answered for me by the movie. So I guess we'll just have to see how it answers it. But at this point, it's just it looks. If you just look at the face, it just looks like that '70s cartoon. And I don't like the sports like lines. The like on the boots and the shoulders, like those lines.
It looked really weird.
But you know, I'm gonna wait and reserve absolute final judgment until the end, until you know I see it on the screen, and who knows, maybe it'll change by the time you know Sony puts it up on screen. So we'll see how it looks. I feel like this one, it looks the least. Also, the thing about this, it looks the least like somebody could actually make it.
Yeah. I'm not really sure about this suit. I like I said, I want to like it and I want to give it a chance. So I mean, I'm gonna wait and see how it actually functions in the film and how they explain it. But so far, I'm not enthused.
I'll say this: it's not a detractor, but I'm not promoting it.
Yeah.
So it does nothing to change my opinion for the movie. I do wish they would have frickin' waited.
The other thing people are complaining about is the voice, which if you've not seen the trailer, you're not going to know.
Yeah, see, I don't have that one, so.
He He sounds like a whinier, younger version of Tobey Maguire's
Well,
Spider-Man.
I did hear that it would remind some people of Tobey Maguire. And again, he is only supposed to be 15, so
Which I get that. I hope it's not real cheesy.
guess we'll just have to wait and see. Wait and see. Man, I was so wishy-washy on that. I really hope I don't get too many hateful comments.
Yeah. I don't think we'll get too many because like we
It's
said, we're
divisive.
kind of
You either like it or you don't.
yeah, and that's kind of the thing. I mean, either way, either one of us are still want to see the
Yeah,
movie. So
and anyone that wants to hate on me, feel free. But then again, you've probably seen the thing in motion in the trailer. I have not. So all I'm looking at is this picture of a guy in squinty little white eyes just staring at me through a basketball.
I that's funny. Um, I I'm looking forward to the movie anyway,
Yeah, so
but
was I.
because like
This was
this one, Batman v Superman, and Deadpool were like my three superhero films of the year that I'm the most excited for, aside from like uh the Star Trek and TMNT too, but those are like my main three superhero films that I was looking forward to. But yeah, I mean I guess we'll just have to wait and see when it gets in the film.
oh yeah.
See how it looks.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure they'll have another trailer pop out before then with more Spider-Man in it. Now that they've let the cat out of the bag.
Yep. Just wish they would have waited, but whatever.
So jumping into your superhero kick on television.
Okay, it's not entirely. It doesn't have to be entirely superhero related.
Comic related?
Or no, just geekdom in general, because we
Okay.
like a myriad of shows. I just feel like it's I kind of got in a Twitter discussion a couple weeks ago with TFG1 Mike about he posted the order that he liked the DC shows, and I actually agreed with his list. And kittens died all over the world, but we got on the discussion of things that we liked or didn't like, or that kind of, and that's kind of where this like spun out of for me, was as fans of certain properties, we generally, for me, it happens more with movies and TV shows. um we tend to get invested in the properties, and like when you go into a season finale for a TV show, you have expectations for like what you want to see in the season premiere, or how you want the next season to go, or where you want to see it go. And I thought it would be fun to talk briefly about expectations that we've had for certain things, and that we either met our expectations. I guess we could do like what you could do like, what's that game? Marry, Kill. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, uh, the one where they say like sleep with, marry, kill,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
something.
exactly that one. Kind of like we can play a version of that game, which is kind of like exceeded our expectations, met our expectations, or failed.
Yeah.
Kind of a version of that. So just as an example, um, no surprise to anybody, season 3 of Arrow was, in my opinion, atrocious. Just yeah, anyone that hasn't seen season 3, I don't want to really spoil it for you, but there's like something that happens in the second quarter to the halfway through the season that just kind of sets everything on like a downward spiral. And um I thought the show just became a complete and utter train wreck after that. And the way that it ended, that season ended, I wasn't very happy with. But the way that Flash ended, and the way that DC is integrating their TV shows as heavily as they are, I was really hoping that with the events at the end of Flash season 1, that the writers would find a way to undo all of season 3 of Arrow. Like they, they had written themselves into such a way that through the events of Flash, we could undo all the events of season 3 of Arrow. And so I had all these expectations built up in my head for what I thought was going to happen when the series rolled back around and it debuted in the fall. And Arrow failed to meet my expectations. I don't really remember what they were. I just wanted them to see them undo all the mistakes of season 3. So they were either going to do that or not. So it had no choice but to either meet my expectations or fail, and it failed. Flash, again, it would have my expectations for Arrow would have lived or died with Flash. Flash didn't meet those expectations, or Flash met my expectations by doing something similar, but they didn't have the ramifications I wanted to have. So Flash was still good going forward, but it wasn't what I wanted. It didn't match my expectations. Arrow like completely missed the mark, but those are my expectations. So again, this is stuff that we've had expectations for, and those things have already come to pass. So we can say like, that what they did for us or how they left us feeling, versus like the expectations we might have for Civil War or Batman versus Superman. Those are just expectations at this point. I don't want to make more expectations. I don't want to talk about expectations about those. Just stuff that is like,
yeah, it's a lot easier and unbiased to talk about something that's already
it's kind of
happened.
like a game of hindsight.
Yeah.
So, I gave my. Do we want to talk spoilers here? Because I feel like I just beat around the bush.
Yeah, we can talk spoilers because it's already passed and it's on break again right now anyway.
Yeah. So basically, what happens in halfway through season 3 of Arrow, one of my favorite characters, whose name escapes me right now,
Is it
dies.
Hawkman?
No. Season 3 of Arrow.
Season 3. Oh yeah, we're in season 4 now.
Yeah.
Aren't we?
Oh my gosh. Black Canary.
Katie Lotz.
Yeah, I can't think of the sister's name.
Lance. I can't
Something
remember her
Lance.
name. It's not Laurel. It's
Wow, it's my favorite character. No.
She's in Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah, but see, she died, and that just sent the whole show down this like giant spiral of like nothingness. It brought in the like League of Assassins in a major way, which shouldn't have happened in my opinion, because it just led it down this role of we're gonna make cheap imitation Batman. And the way it ended was on this like stupid, cheesy high note, like, oh, okay, they can leave it there, and that's fine. Like, to me, I was like, that's how, and this is where it comes in, that Earth ends. The story on this Earth ends there. And I thought that the events of Flash, the end of season 1 of Flash, where he tears open that wormhole because he's a selfish prick.
Yeah.
I thought that when he goes in it to save it, he goes to another Earth with another Arrow where none of that crap happened. And maybe we spend an entire season there. So you get to see this like offshoot of things that could have been, or like just kind of like subtle twists on how things could have been. And I thought that would have been really cool given the events of Flash, and they didn't deliver that. They didn't give me that, and so like Arrow, when it came back for season 4, it failed miserably because the Flash didn't deliver on that premise of being set in another Earth for the entire season. But Flash maintained its momentum, in my opinion, by at least introducing the concept of another Earth. And that's what made it interesting, because now we've seen that Barry can go back and forth between Earths. So what I wanted to happen could have happened, but the writers didn't want to do that. And I feel like that, to me, as a fan, just outlandish expectations as we all have for certain properties that we love, like that was just, they just let me down there. Another real quick one, because we were talking about this, Mike, this one that Mike and I got on because we were talking about Black Canary who becomes White Canary in Legends of Tomorrow. And I said that it was really the way that she was brought back for that series being the Lazarus Pit. I thought that was really cheap. And I didn't want to like tip my hand as to what my theory was because I think I've shared it with you, Steve, before. But I could be wrong. But I knew that she was going to be back. I didn't know how she was going to be back, but in my head, my expectation for her being back and knowing what I know, like about like what the plan was for Legends of Tomorrow, I thought it would have been really cool if they had removed her from the timeline before she died.
Like he grabbed her. And...
Yeah, like maybe she fell off the building and that's when he grabs her. Okay? And so she disappears from time. But she still could have fallen because we're dealing with time travel here, guys, and anything is possible. So what's to say that she's on a mission somewhere in Legends of Tomorrow and doesn't die? And he puts her back at that one particular moment where she's still falling off the building. And she still dies, and Arrow still unfolds the way that it did. Like, how cool would that have been if he just like snatched her out of that moment in time, brought her on board that ship, healed her wounds because it's a future ship, and then they go off and do whatever they needed to do with that world instead of, oh, we'll just bring her back with the Lazarus Pit, which further drags down Arrow because you have to show that somehow. And you have to do it in Arrow. Because the first half of season 4 of Arrow, let's face it, that was a mess because all it was doing was setting up Legends of Tomorrow.
Pretty much. Yeah, it was a total cluster, whereas Flash wasn't necessarily playing to the same beat. Yeah, it was setting up to it too with Hawk Girl, but it really wasn't.
But that episode, but they didn't do that. That wasn't thrown in your face until the crossover. Like that.
Yeah, until the episode before.
Yeah, like that really could have been like take it or leave it. But this was I to me, again, another fan expectation. I wish that's how they would have done it because they're dealing with time travel. Mike brought up the idea that what could they have done to save her in that one particular moment, which was, because Barry can time travel, would be to have Barry go back. And I didn't tip my hand here. I just kind of ended the conversation right there because I didn't want to say, hello, Rip Hunter is a time traveler. He can do that. Barry doesn't have to be involved at all. So I just thought it would have been really cool. And to take like maybe you take other characters from other points in time instead of just them being from that one particular moment. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And maybe they will down the road, but I feel like that would have been a great way to establish that, yes, any character from any point in time can be a part of this show. I thought that would have been like a really cool way to do it. Also, I feel like it could have added something to the character of Black Canary, White Canary by, just it would have added to that death because you would have kind of been at that point retroactively. It would be like she didn't die then; she died later doing something heroic.
Mm-hmm.
So. Again, those are my expectations. These are just some examples. So, do you have anything like that?
Like I watch all of the comic book based shows, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
So like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., it hasn't met my expectations until like this recent season because they're actually like not really conforming to a round of film.
Yet you wait.
Yeah. But I think it's the longest stretch where it's kind of held on its own, which I've enjoyed. So it's at least met my expectations there.
But what were your
Gotham?
But what were your expectations of the show? Like that's.
I was expecting them to have, I don't know, a little bit more in depth with the whole S.H.I.E.L.D. organization and Coulson's revival, and I don't know, a lot of it's just been kind of subpar and leading up to a film, and especially when it's surrounding a film, it's just terrible. Like the end of a season is great, but it's because it's a ramification of a film.
Yep.
So this recent season, they pulled a Star Wars with, or the end of the last season with Coulson with his hand, um, and then he's got like a robotic hand, and he's kind of gone, dark side a little bit in this recent season, and some of the stuff has been all right. Like Agent Ward, because they keep flip flopping what his purpose is in the show. Like every season he changes, or every half season he
I'm
changes.
so over him as a character.
Um, I'm so sick of him. That's the only reason. Like I was wanting more out of that. Like they just keep dragging it out, and then there's somebody that's always bigger and badder than him at some point. Um, so I kind of got sick of it, but it's turning out to be halfway decent. I'm not entirely holding out my entire reservation yet on it, but and the same thing with Gotham. There's a lot happening with that. Um, season one, I did enjoy it after I got a chance to watch it all in one sitting with the Blu-ray, but I wasn't. I'm still not totally gung ho on it, but season two's been better than season one, which isn't saying much. But um, I'm still kind of waiting because they're starting to get into more of the Batman lore. More of the villains are starting to kind of start meshing into their future personas, and then some characters are coming back and whatnot. But it's still kind of meeting expectations at this point. Arrow, I'm kind of underwhelmed. Like I enjoy it, and I still watch it because I've been watching it since the beginning, but I'm underwhelmed with the show. Um, it's about on par with Gotham and Agents of Shield with me at this point, but I'll watch that before I watch the other two.
I think I watch Arrow still because I know that it eventually ties in with like what's going on in Flash.
And I think that's
And
partially why I still watch it, is because the universes are all tied with Flash, and to me, Flash is like, I will say that it hasn't exceeded my expectations this season like it did last season. There are a couple things that I wish would have happened, especially with going to Earth 2 and with the time jumping through the wormholes and the different times that they saw when he was going through the rift.
mm-hmm.
I wish there was like other alternate places he had to kind of jump to get home.
Well, I think that's what the Supergirl crossover is going to be.
Well, they already closed all the rifts, so
Oh, you're right. I didn't even think about that.
so so, but he's bound and determined to go back to Earth 2 to get Jay Garrick or get revenge on Zoom.
Good point.
And even though there's like that whole conundrum with Zoom, Jay Garrick, and that guy in the metal mask, who I think are all three the same person, or variations from of the same person.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of torn there, and then the whole thing with the Supergirl thing. Yeah, it's going to be a one-off, and kind of I think it's going to be a throwaway episode overall. But I'm not entirely sure what the purpose of it is, other than to garner more attention towards the other show.
I think that's what it is. I think that's fine.
Which is fine, but I'm okay with them joining universes. I just, after that point, then it makes it possible that Superman and Martian Manhunter and Supergirl and Batman somewhere in the universe just not going to vocalize it. Would technically coexist with this universe if they're in the same universe. So.
Mm-hmm.
Or be possible to cross over at some point. So,
right.
So yeah, I mean, I'm kind of met at expectations there. I'm not either way on it. Legends of Tomorrow, I'm kind of, at some points I'm overwhelmed with how well they've done, and then I'm underwhelmed at points, and then it kind of meets at other points because it kind of turns into a villain of the week thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's Vandal Savage every episode, so they're constantly cramming it down your throat, and it's like I'm trying to think of a comparable show. It's like almost like watching like a police procedural like every episode, and then they catch their either narrowly miss or something bad happens in their attempt to try and get to their culprit.
Yeah. I
It's just a big cluster of trying to capture the guy in every episode. They majorly fail, or they damage the ship, or somebody dies, or somebody gets injured, and it's the same story every episode, even though they keep time jumping. And to me, the only thing I've enjoyed so far is the going to the future and seeing future Oliver Queen
yeah. I,
and Connor Hawke, who I believe is going to end up becoming a part of the Legends of Tomorrow group.
Maybe. For me, what really I forgive me, listeners, if I said this on the last episode I was on, but I feel like I don't know how long the show can go on with Vandal Savage being the villain, because you basically cast an immortal as your villain, which I don't know how that works. Second,
Well, they're saying the only one that can kill him is Hot Girl with that specific thing, but that still
which I think
brings the reason that he can, be
I
reincarnated.
think that's dumb too, to be completely honest with you. Plus, we don't know why Malcolm took his ashes, so that should be interesting. Um, the other issue I have is, well, one of the things that makes each episode fun for me. I agree with everything you said. Yes, it is kind of like Monster of the Week, this, that. The other thing, just in a different time period. And again, forgive me if I've said this. I feel like everything that they've done is something that's already had to happen. And I feel like I said that already.
It's like watching Indiana Jones, because if you took him out of the movie, it still happens the same way.
But it's not even that. Like, I feel like they had to, like, it just, what we're seeing is events that had to happen for Hunter's family to have been killed by Savage. Like, he's not correcting anything because he already did it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because and what kind of drew me to that conclusion was the one episode where everyone's getting together and they're drinking Hawkman's blood,
Mm-hmm.
and Rip gets mad and says the names of his family. And Savage is like, now I know the names of your family, and I will find them and I will kill them.
Yeah.
Like,
so, like, if he never went on his journey.
Yep, like that had to happen in order for that, for his, that's what I'm saying. Like,
He's caused his own.
yes, exactly. It's just a loop. Like, that has to happen because otherwise his family won't die, and it creates a paradox. Like, it's just.
I have a feeling that by the end of this, if this doesn't get renewed for a second season, or they figure out another way around it, they'll end up going back in time to before Rip Hunter recruited him and killing him, thus nullifying the entire show.
Possibly. My theory for Legends of Tomorrow, well, I'll share this one as the last one because it's kind of a going forward expectation, but you got any more?
My other thought is that either that, or they'll eventually replace Rip Hunter with an alternate timeline version where it's like Booster Gold taking.
Oh, that would be fun. I want to see,
because I would almost prefer that, because then you would have the adventures of Booster Gold and, like, Blue Beetle and some of the other.
So I would love to see Booster Gold, but I would also, there's another character that I would really like to see, because we're never going to see Batman. You know that?
Nightwing.
Nope, not Nightwing. I mean, they've teased that one for a while. But who I would like to see in the show, and I'm trying to look up the actor that I want to play him, because I'd rather say the actor rather than that character from that show. Oh boy, where is it? Why is IMDb so difficult to use now?
I don't know.
I want to see the stars, but you're not going to show me the stars, are you? I'll tell you this, he's in Supernatural. Now I can't see.
Jensen Ackles?
No. He plays Castiel.
Oh.
I can't think of the guy's name, and they don't do cast photos anymore. They just do cast lists. This is ridiculous.
I'm going to look up Supernatural, because I know his, because he's one of the main actors. Oh,
here it is. Hang on a second. I'll find it. Nope, it just took me. Oh, where is it?
Let's see if I can find it before you find it. Misha Collins.
Yes, you got it. I want to see him. No joke. I want to see him play the Question.
That could be interesting. It'd be somebody different.
Like, you're not going to get Batman, so I was trying to think, who could you actually see in this role? Fulfilling that type of role, and having just watched Justice League Unlimited again, I really think the Question could do that role. And maybe it's just Misha Collins, maybe it's just his trench coat. But I really feel like,
I think it's the way he carries himself and how he talks too.
yeah, I really feel like he could play the Question. So, but yeah, so you got any? Yeah, I don't mean to keep stealing the mic from you.
Oh no, that's fine. I actually kind of like that idea of him playing the Question. I would kind of like to see like Red Robin or Nightwing kind of show up, even though they can't show Batman.
Mm-hmm. I think you're more likely to get Nightwing if they can than anybody else.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's why I said either of those two, and then I kind of wish they'd have like Hal Jordan show up in Flash, but I know they won't do that.
They've teased him.
Well, just like they've teased that actor that's playing some unknown character in Batman v Superman, and they said that the Flash or that Green Lantern's not technically in it. And this guy, every time you see a shot of him, and it's some kind of official photo of some kind, and it's got like this green hue over him, and he's making some green comment like every time, which leads everybody to believe that he's going to be Green Lantern. Because he's cast in some unknown role, and he's not allowed to discuss it. And he's supposed to be on this Air Force base, which is the Ferris Air thing.
Okay.
And every time you see a shot of him, there's something green, and they aren't showing his name. So there's insinuation that he's playing pre-Green Lantern Hal Jordan.
Guess we'll just have to
Which
see.
I kind of agree with. I made a comment about it the other day too with some of the other people on Twitter. It was something along the lines of just get to the freaking point, just tell us that it's that person already, or just don't say anything and don't promote the fact that he's in the film. Like, yeah,
it's weird that they're willing to tip their hand. It's about certain characters and not about others. But at this point, maybe they're just trying to kind of play damage control against the people that are complaining that there's too many characters in the movie.
Which I think as long as they have them, as a brief, like kind of, you might see a shot of them or something, and they may not have speaking roles, kind of like akin to Luke Skywalker in The Force Awakens. Well, and,
I don't even think it's got to be like that. I mean, I just look at how I know this is. I keep reading this stuff. I look at how like some animated movies are handled. Okay, and I'm just gonna keep going back to Flashpoint Paradox because it's like it's the last movie I saw. It's like right there. It's like an hour and 20 minutes, almost. Well, sorry, is it 112 minutes or like an hour and 12 minutes or something like that? I feel like it's like an hour and 12 minutes. But like that's an hour and 12-minute movie, and they cover a lot of ground. So I feel like if you had that same, like if you, and a lot of those things, they could duplicate those things in like a live action movie, like almost shot for shot, and it would still like hold up, but obviously it'd move really fast. But again, if they ever did a Flashpoint movie, you'd probably have like another hour of context for like scenes to breathe and things to happen and things to look cooler, if you will. So I just and they throw a lot of characters at you, like a lot of characters. And even Justice League War is another example. Like if the Justice League movie follows like the plot line for Justice League War like pretty closely, that's awesome. And it just has room to breathe for like another hour versus versus that cartoon. But that has like tons of characters in it. And it's not, and it goes back to like the argument we've made before. I don't think there's a problem with casting all these people. Like people were mad because they cast Cyborg and Aquaman and all this other stuff, and they're all going to be in this movie. It really depends on like the size of the role and like what it is. Like he might not be Cyborg, but the guy that if they're going to go see like a scientist, why not have it be like Cyborg, like or the guy that becomes Cyborg, like because that's what it would be in the comic. Why can't it be that in the movie? It's not just going to be some Joe Schmo. So, but again, these are all things I've said on here before, but it's been so long since I've been on the show. I just kind of want to put that stuff fresh in there. So in case you have any new listeners, they can hate my opinions all the same. But, so yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. But yeah, I do wish I just feel like some of this stuff might be like, well, we're not going to tell you who Jenna Malone is. We're not going to tell you who this guy in the green light is. Probably maybe it's just like coverage for that backlash they've been getting for, people saying they've cast too many people for this movie, even though by the time when we see the movie, it might not even feel that way. So,
yeah, I'm one of the people that complains that they've got too many people going on, too many cooks in the kitchen on the character front. But I'm gonna wait and see, because like Civil War is gonna be the same boat basically.
I just don't understand how. Like, I get it. I guess I can understand it. I just don't see how, like, because you say you're one of those people, but what? Because like, we gave the example of like the animated movies that have just as many characters, if not more, and those movies, we consider those movies good, and they're like an hour and 12 minutes long. But you think a live action movie with just as many characters that's like 100% longer can't tell just as good of a story?
I don't know if it's that. I think it's because it's a new universe, and figuring out, like, I don't know how they're. I mean, I'm okay if they don't do the origin stories. Actually, I'd be perfectly fine with them not doing origin stories ever again, because we all pretty much know most of them. But I don't know if I want to see that many characters show up this early, especially when it's supposed to be like a Batman versus Superman type scenario, even though they've already let Wonder Woman out of the bag as a major player in this movie, and Lex Luthor, and the other character that's going to be a part of the problem that Luthor sets.
Like I said, I again just have to wait and see. But I was just curious because I just wanted to throw that out there. It's like, we all love the animated movies, but it's like when it comes to that many characters being a live action movie, all of a sudden we all cry foul. So
I think it's because live action films don't necessarily get as much time. You spend more time on the action than you do on the dialogue or the meshing of characters together. Whereas in the animated stuff, it's more of the characters talking amongst each other, and then there's the action.
I feel like there's a healthy mix of both, but I could be wrong.
I think it depends on the film.
I mean, again, the two that I'm referencing here are Flashpoint Paradox and Justice League War.
Well, yeah, the animated stuff I think is great, but it's when it comes to the live action, I'm not necessarily like totally sold.
Right. Well, I'm just saying. You said that it's okay. So we'll just have to see what happens. I was trying to play devil's advocate or give you a hard time or whatever. So, but the one of the expectations I have, or I don't know if it's an expectation or prediction, but we all know the runaway thing with Arrow going on, like the thing they keep teasing us with at the end of every episode, and they kind of tease us with in certain episodes, which is who's gonna die. I think my prediction, if you will, due to something that happens in either The Flash or Legends of Tomorrow, it won't be a funeral, it'll be a wedding.
Yeah, I think you're right.
But then again, remember, my expectations for season 2 of Flash and season 4 of Arrow were way off. So, but I just keep thinking we've got 2 shows that deal with time travel or the possibility of time travel. And what is the opposite of a wedding or a funeral? A wedding or a birth. But at this point, because no one in the show has been confirmed to be pregnant, I'm going to go with wedding.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. I think that about rounds it out.
Yeah.
So yeah, sound off in the comments below. Let us know what you guys think on our crazy fan theories.
Or share some of your expectations, like that you've had for certain properties, and did they did whatever it was meet your expectations, exceed your expectations, or just fail miserably.
So yeah. So how can the people get a hold of you online?
They can harass me in the comment section here for this episode, or at Boothninja81 on Twitter.
And they can get a hold of me at SCP-21. There will be another clip after this, so stay tuned after the break.
Welcome to the Wicked Radio Network.
Want to interact with the show? You can contact us in the following ways. You can call the voicemail line 502-526-5821. You can email us feedback@geekcastradio.com. You can visit the episode post on geekcastradio.com or alteredgeek.com. You can get a hold of us on Twitter at alteredgeek. Look for us every week on geekcastradio.com, of course, Stitcher Smart Radio, iTunes, Blog Talk Radio, and alteredgeek.com. And now, back to the show. You're listening to the Altered Geek News Network. Hello and welcome to the AGNN. I'm your host, Steve Megatron Phillips, and in this episode, or part of the segment of the show, I am planning to cover quite a few things. Obviously, before the break, we covered Civil War's Spider-Man, which showed up, and spoilers, he jumps after Iron Man calls him, so he's on Team Iron Man, as it appears so far, and steals Captain America's shield, and manages to web his hands, and then he is perched up on top of either a bridge or a vehicle up high, and he speaks and sounds like a dorky teenager, but that's a given, being that he's going to be 15, so that's, people are complaining about it already. Whatever, it's somebody's got something to complain about. I'm trying to look at it optimistically because it's just a 5-second clip in the trailer, and I've already said my piece about the suit itself. Again, I'm trying to like it, so I'm not totally hating on it. I am happy that they have Spider-Man, and I do really like the character of Spider-Man, so that's set aside. So I was reading something, and this is kind of interesting. Nintendo has come out with a new Nintendo 3DS virtual console where they're allowing... they have certain games that are available that are SNES games, Super Nintendo. And this was kind of a problem on the Wii they had, but they're saying, and this is kind of a lame excuse, that the reason they had to have this new 3DS is because the old 3DS couldn't support Super Nintendo games on the Virtual Console. I don't know if this is legit, but a lot of places I've seen this, people have been complaining about it. And then other people have been saying that you've been able to play emulated versions of these on the older versions, even the 2DS, for years. And then there's still, people are a little miffed that they have to rebuy the game yet again. So if you bought it on a Virtual Console in general, I would think you wouldn't have to rebuy it on every device. But it's appearing that way, and they're putting up price tags at $7.99 a piece for games that we've been buying since the early 90s, which is kind of ridiculous at this point. You would think that they'd just put them at $1.99 and then just call it good, because most people are fine spending the amount of a Coke on a game of some sort, or even spending it for an app in general. So I would legitimately spend about $1.99 on one of these games for, to be able to play them again on the Virtual Console on my 2DS. But to spend $8, I've already done some of that on the Wii, and there's no way I would buy these games again. Yeah, I think that's kind of a messed up problem. But again, it's stuff that stuff that happens. So yeah, I've been enjoying the trailers that have been coming out. The Batman v Superman stuff's been great. The Civil War one's been great. I don't know. I still like the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man suit. I know I keep dropping back to that, but I just think I like that better. Just the way it looks. It's I don't know. It's more definition in it. The eye thing is a little weird for me too, but I guess they'll come up with a reason why that works. Sorry, just couldn't help it. I'm scrolling through my Twitter feed, and then the Daisy Ridley thing with the Tomb Raider. That's an interesting casting. So yeah. There's been the season finale set dates for Arrow, Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, iZombie, and so on and so forth. So Flash, it appears, will close out its second season on May 24th, which, if I'm not mistaken, is the week that it's going to come back. So it's a little weird. So yeah, there's that, and sorry, a little confused. Stupid ad played on one of the websites. Yeah, Arrow's gonna have May 25th. Legends of Tomorrow apparently is May 19th. iZombie is April 12th. Oh, it's in May. Dear, I'm thinking March. Why am I don't know. Don't bother me. Supernatural is May 25th. Yeah, those are pretty much the shows I watch anyway out of those CW shows. I watch 5 out of those, 10 that are shown. I'm kind of intrigued. I mean, I'm hoping that the seasons get better progressively as they go on. I don't hate any of these shows by any means, so I'm looking forward to more of them. I hope that they get renewed again. But that remains to be seen. Side note, we have at the GeekCast Radio Network been admitted to the large ass movie blog, The Lamb. So that's kind of a fun point. So there's that. I was also going across earlier on about the new Star Trek series, and I know I brought some of this up last week, and I know that it's kind of a little possibly annoying, but the show is going to be on the CBS app. They are going to have the first episode on television. They do have Brian Fuller attached as the showrunner. They do have Nicholas Meyer as the writer. They do have Roddenberry on board. I keep bringing this up because I'm really, it's one of those shows that I'm truly optimistic for, even though I'm kind of curious and some things are kind of got me questioning it, because I think Kurtzman is involved too. But I'm just wondering what direction they're going to take it, and if they can take it back to the Trek of old in some regard. I'm not saying it has to be verbatim the stuff that we've already been fed over the last 50 years, but I want to see something, I don't know, something fresh with it, but not lose its appeal and its aesthetics that a normal Trek. And I'm not trying to alienate anybody. It sounds weird no matter how I say it, but a normal Trek fan of old would enjoy it, if that makes any sense whatsoever. So yeah, I'm kind of hoping that it does that. So, there's a new downloadable emulator that makes NES games 3D. It was on Game Tyrant that they showed this. Geode Studios is working on an emulator that allows you to play NES games in a 3D environment. But definitely needs a lot of work. It says some titles like Dr. Mario and Super Mario Bros. 3 look pretty damn good. Others like Contra tend to drag and look a little weird. The good news is the fact that someone was able to do this means that we now have the opportunity to perfect the technology and update our favorite games at will. It's pretty cool because it makes some of the characters stand out a little bit more, like they're kind of like they added an emboss or something around them, and then the stairways or the parts that the character stands on stand out, and there's definition to it, and it definitely shows. It looks really neat. The emulator is, and I'll have to put this in the episode post, but it's on a website. You can actually download it and try it out. I'm not condoning piracy on the emulator front, but being I used to run an emulator site years ago, I would give it a shot if you own the game and you want to try something out and see how it looks. Because I'm kind of curious myself. I might actually try that out and let you guys know. This just in: Arnold Schwarzenegger is in talks to return to the Predator. I wonder if they're going to actually continue the Predator with him, or if it's going to be another like part of the rebooted universe and him playing the Predator. Oh, I guess it says reportedly he'd be reprising his role as Major Alan Dutch Schaefer in The Predator. And apparently Shane Black's directing. So I'd get behind that. That would be pretty neat. I'm a huge fan of Arnold anyway, so anytime I see him show up in something, I'm super stoked. Nickelodeon has the TMNT return of the 80s Turtles. And in this kind of collage of CG animated turtles of time travel, the 1980s Turtles and Krang will cross over in time travel. Although I don't see how it could be time travel if they're different universes. It would be more so universe travel or time travel in that regard. I don't know. Anyways. They're 2D animated 80s counterparts in the Transdimensional Turtles. To add icing to the cake, the original voice actors will be reprising their roles with Cam Clark, Rob Paulson, Barry Gordon, and Townsend Coleman. Pat Fraley also reprised his role as Krang, which is awesome. God, that's awesome. It says, if that's not enough, the episode will pay tribute to the original comic book version from Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird. In Transdimensional Turtles, all 8 turtles must battle to eliminate both the 80s Krang and Krang Subprime, which are basically the same character. Krang Subprime is Gilbert Gottfried, and 80s Krang is Pat Fraley, which I can do an impersonation of them. That was pretty bad, but I can do it normal, usually. It's just late at night, don't feel like doing it. After meeting the 80s counterparts in a 2D animation world, the entire clan moves back into a CG animation dimension, giving their new retro friends a taste of their realm, which I actually like them in the reverse order. I like the new 2012 Turtles in the 80s animation aesthetic, and I like the 80s Turtles in the 2012 aesthetic. The looks are just phenomenal. I really, really love this look. And I love the throwback and it's a tasteful throwback, so it's kind of cool. So it says season 4 of Turtles follows the Turtles as they embark on the most epic adventure yet, outer space, allied with the Fugitoid. So yeah, I'm really liking this Turtles, and the video clip that they have on this is just fun. It brings back so many nostalgic memories, but it's not annoying and beating you over the head with it. So definitely have to check that out. Side note as well for the GCRN again, we have the GCRN top 50 video game franchises coming up. That I should have ready to launch soon. So be on the lookout for that. Other than that, I think that about rounds out the AGNN. So I'm hoping next week to have a segment on something else. But for now, until next time, get altered, get geeky with the Altered Geeks.